Hey, the black one with the mop, get your ass up here. Bradley Crawford snaps his fingers like calling a dog. 400 employees freeze. Miles Turner walks forward. 54, black, janitor uniform, head bowed. Look at this. Crawford grabs his collar, yanks him. $14 an hour, no education, no ambition, just another black man pushing a mop because that's all his kind can do. Laughter. I built a billion-dollar empire. You clean my toilets, know your place. He wrinkles his nose, seizes Miles's sleeve. You smell like bleach and poverty. Tears the fabric. Miles's bare arm exposed. Crawford's eyes drop to the skin. His smile dies. His face drains white. His hands begin to shake. Miles looks up, calm, waiting. This man mopped Crawford's floors for 5 years. Crawford never once looked down. Today he looked, and he'll wish he never did. Miles Turner is 54 years old, African-American, night shift janitor at Crawford Industries for 5 years. He will be dead in 4 months. The cancer started in his lungs, spread to his liver, then his bones. The doctors gave him 6 months back in May. He's used 2 of them already. The pills he takes every night, the ones he hides in an aspirin bottle so Keisha won't ask questions, they manage the pain. Nothing more. His work begins when the sun sets and the executives go home. When the hallway's empty and the fluorescent lights switch to half power, he mops marble floors, empties trash cans, replaces light bulbs, the kind of labor that keeps a building running and keeps a man invisible. Some nights, the coughing gets bad. He steps into a supply closet, waits until it passes, checks his handkerchief for blood, returns to his mop. No one notices. No one ever notices. Crawford Industries occupies a 12-story glass tower in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. Defense contracts, government deals, body armor for the United States military. Bradley Crawford founded it 31 years ago. Forbes calls him a visionary. The Department of Defense calls him a trusted partner. There's a photograph on Crawford's desk that no one is allowed to mention. A young man in Army dress uniform, lieutenant's bars, bright smile. The photograph has been there for 5 years, untouched, unacknowledged. The company has 3,200 employees. Only 4% are black. Of those, 89% work in support staff positions, janitors, security guards, cafeteria workers. There's not a single black face in the executive suite. Human Resources calls this a pipeline issue. Miles calls it design. He knows every senior executive by name, their schedules, their habits, which ones take the stairs, which ones talk on speakerphone with doors cracked open, assuming the man pushing a mop cart is furniture. Janitor pays attention, he once told Darnell, the night security guard. That's the job. Darnell laughed. Man, nobody pays attention to us. Miles smiled. Exactly. He earns $14.50 an hour. No raise since 2019. The company's stock has tripled in that time. Bradley Crawford's net worth has increased by $400 million. Miles has a granddaughter, Keisha, 21 years old, junior at UNC Charlotte on a partial scholarship. She's the reason he gets up, the reason he hasn't surrendered to the disease eating him from inside. His daughter Rachel, Keisha's mother, died 7 years ago. Depression. Miles doesn't talk about it. There's a photograph in his wallet, a younger version of himself in Army dress uniform, beard thick, frame 25 pounds lighter. He doesn't look like that anymore. Different person, he tells Keisha when she asks. Every night after his shift, Miles sits in his truck in the parking lot. 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. He writes in a small black notebook. Moleskin, leather cover, pages numbered by hand. He's done this for 5 years, the entire time he's known he was dying. Nobody asks what he writes. Nobody asks janitors anything. 5 years ago, Miles received 2 pieces of news on the same day. The first, his oncologist confirmed the cancer was terminal. Slow-moving, but terminal. 5 to 7 years. The second, a man named Earl Dawkins called with evidence that Crawford Industries had shipped defective body armor to Afghanistan. Armor that killed 5 soldiers, including someone whose name Miles had never expected to hear again. Lieutenant Nathan Crawford, Bradley Crawford's only son, the son of the man who gave the order to ship. Miles made a choice that day. He could spend his remaining years in peace. Watch Keisha graduate, hold her children someday, fade quietly. Or he could spend them in a glass tower, mopping floors, watching the man who killed his brothers and his own son walk free. He chose the tower. The morning of September 14th, 2024, Crawford Industries sends a company-wide email. All hands meeting. 3 p.m. Mandatory attendance. Miles receives no invitation. Janitors aren't on the list, but his supervisor tells him to be present in case of cleanup. Miles nods. That night, in his truck, he opens his notebook, writes a single line. Phase 1 begins. 4 months left. Enough. At 3 p.m. the next day, 400 employees gather in the main hall. Miles Turner stands in the corner with his mop. And 4 months to live. And Bradley Crawford takes the stage, not knowing he's about to face the ghost of his own son. The main hall smells of floor wax and recycled air. 400 employees fill rows of folding chairs. Fluorescent lights hum overhead like a low-grade headache. On stage, a projection screen displays the Crawford Industries logo, an eagle clutching a shield. Behind the podium, barely visible, hangs another image, a portrait of a young soldier in dress uniform. Lieutenant Nathan Crawford, Employee of the Month, eternally. The company's fallen hero. No one knows the truth about how he died. Bradley Crawford walks to the podium at exactly 3:02 p.m. Gray suit, no tie, silver cufflinks. He moves like a man who has never been questioned. Miles stands near the back exit, mop in hand, blue uniform. Name tag M. Turner. He's positioned himself carefully, close enough to be seen, invisible enough to be forgotten. A cough rises in his chest. He suppresses it. Not now. Crawford begins with numbers, revenue, growth projections. His voice fills the hall, confident, practiced, hollow. Then the tone shifts. I want to talk about value, he says, about what makes this company exceptional, about who is essential and who is replaceable. His eyes drift toward the back of the room, to the man in the blue uniform. You see that man? 400 heads turn. Miles doesn't move. Crawford points. He's our janitor. He mops floors, empties trash. Anyone could do that job. Anyone from anywhere. No special skills required, no education necessary. Just a mop and a willingness to show up. Someone laughs. Others join. Crawford continues. That's what replaceable means. Next week, someone else could be standing there with that mop, and nothing would change. A crumpled paper flies from the crowd, hits Miles on the shoulder, falls to the floor. Miles bends down to pick it up. Slowly, deliberately. His sleeve rides up. The tattoo appears. 3 inches of black ink. 75th Ranger Regiment crest. Below it, Kandahar, 04/05/19. And beneath the date, 5 small stars, each one the size of a pencil eraser. 5, not 4. Crawford sees the tattoo. His mouth stops moving. He stares at the 5 stars. His face cycles through confusion, recognition, then something darker, something like terror. He's seen that exact configuration before, 5 years ago, at his son's memorial. A sergeant in dress uniform approached him after the service, grabbed his arm, whispered, "Your son told me things before he died. About the armor, about what you did." Crawford had security remove the man, told himself it was grief talking, told himself to forget. But he never forgot the tattoo. 5 stars, one for each soldier who died in that ambush, including Nathan. The sergeant had a beard then, was 25 pounds lighter, didn't wear glasses. But the eyes were the same. Miles stands upright, slowly. And for the first time in 5 years, he looks directly at Bradley Crawford. Their eyes meet. Crawford's expression cracks. The mask of confidence shatters. Because he understands now. The man who confronted him at Nathan's funeral, the man who knew the truth, that man didn't disappear. He became a janitor in Crawford's own building for 5 years, watching, listening, documenting. The microphone slips from Crawford's hand, hits the podium with a dull thunk. If this man has been here for 5 years, Crawford realizes, he's heard everything. The board meetings, the cover-ups, the decision to bury Nathan's death along with the evidence, and Crawford didn't recognize him, never looked at him long enough, never saw past the uniform and the skin color, his own blindness, his own contempt, used against him. Miles holds Crawford's gaze for exactly 2 seconds. Then he turns, walks toward the exit, mop in hand. Crawford doesn't move, doesn't speak. His face is white as paper. Behind him, the portrait of Nathan Crawford stares down from the wall. Silent. Accusing. 6 hours later, the video goes online, and the secret Bradley Crawford buried with his son begins to claw its way back to the surface. At 11:49 p.m., an anonymous Twitter account posts the video. Handle, @CrawfordInsider249. Created 14 days earlier. The clip runs 93 seconds. Crawford pointing. Crawford calling Miles replaceable. So the paper hitting Miles's shoulder. The crowd laughing. The caption reads, "CEO of major defense contractor humiliates black janitor at company meeting. Watch his face when the janitor stands up." By morning, the video has 12 million views. #janitor at Crawford trends nationally. Comments flood in. Outrage, disgust. Personal stories of humiliation. One comment rises to the top. "That janitor kept more dignity in 2 seconds than that CEO has shown in his entire career." Crawford Industries' communications team convenes at midnight. Crisis mode. By 9 a.m., they release a statement. The video has been taken out of context. It does not reflect Mr. Crawford's values or Crawford Industries' commitment to diversity. The company treats every team member with dignity and respect. The internet doesn't believe it. Crawford Industries' stock drops 8% in 48 hours. A defense contract renewal worth $340 million gets flagged for additional review. So Crawford goes on cable news Tuesday night. "This is a coordinated smear campaign," he says. "Someone is trying to destroy this company, and me, with a selectively edited video." The anchor asks, "Do you regret calling the janitor replaceable?" Crawford pauses too long. "I was making a point about labor economics. It was taken out of context." The clip goes viral. Again. Wednesday morning. Miles Turner receives a letter at his home. "Dear Mr. Turner, your employment is suspended pending investigation into violations of internal security protocols. You are prohibited from entering company premises until further notice." The letter doesn't specify which protocols, doesn't provide evidence. Miles reads it twice, places it in a manila envelope. Evidence. That night, he takes his pills. The coughing is worse. He checks his handkerchief. More blood than yesterday. 4 months. Maybe 3 now. In Charlotte, a journalist named Denise Wallace watches the video for the 14th time. She's 38. Investigative reporter for the Charlotte Observer. Something about this story doesn't add up. Why did Crawford freeze like that? He saw something, recognized something, and panicked. But what? She receives an email. Anonymous. Proton mail address. You're asking the right questions. Here's where to start. Attachment. A military service record. Name. Miles Turner. Rank. Sergeant First Class. Unit. 75th Ranger Regiment. Decorations. Silver Star for Valor. The email ends with one line. He's not just a janitor, and Crawford knows exactly who he is. Denise stares at the screen. A Silver Star recipient, mopping floors, at the company whose CEO just humiliated him. She starts digging, finds a photograph from Crawford Industries' 2019 memorial service, honoring Lieutenant Nathan Crawford. Black tie event. In the background, barely visible, a man in army dress uniform being escorted out by security. She zooms in. The face is blurry, but the forearm is visible. A tattoo. 75th Ranger Regiment. 5 small stars. Same tattoo. Same man. Denise cross-references the date. April 2019. A military unit ambushed near Kandahar. 5 soldiers killed, including Lieutenant Nathan Crawford, the CEO's son. 5 soldiers, 5 stars. She sits back. This isn't just about a janitor being humiliated. This is about 5 dead soldiers, about body armor, about the CEO's own son. And Miles Turner has been working inside Crawford Industries for 5 years. Watching. Waiting. For what? Meanwhile, Miles sits in his truck, opens his notebook, writes, Journalist engaged. D. Wallace matches criteria. Independent, ethical. Will pursue without direction. Oncologist called. Scan results worse than expected. 3 months now, not 4. Adjust timeline. Accelerate phase 2. He closes the notebook, looks at the Crawford Industries tower, glowing against the night sky. 3 months. Enough. Denise Wallace thinks she's breaking a story. She doesn't realize she's walking into an operation planned by a dying man, and that every step she takes has already been mapped out by someone with nothing left to lose. Thursday morning, the Charlotte Observer publishes its story. Headline, The Janitor Crawford Called Replaceable. A Silver Star recipient who saved 7 lives in Afghanistan. The article runs 12,800 words. Military records, service history. The full account of the Kandahar ambush, April 5th, 2019. Miles Turner carrying a wounded soldier 3 miles through hostile territory while under fire. The photograph accompanies the article. Miles in dress uniform, 2011, Fort Bragg. Shaking hands with a 2-star general, Silver Star pinned to his chest. By noon, the story has been picked up nationally. CNN, MSNBC, The Washington Post. The narrative transforms. This is no longer about corporate tone deafness. It's about a decorated American hero being humiliated by a billionaire who never served. New hashtags emerge. Hashtag Ranger Turner. Silver Star Janitor. Veterans groups issue statements. A retired Army colonel writes, This man earned our nation's 4th highest combat decoration. He saved lives under fire. And some CEO called him replaceable? Crawford should be ashamed. Crawford Industries stock drops another 3%. But here's what nobody asks. Why? Why would a Silver Star recipient choose to mop floors at Crawford Industries for 5 years? Why this company? Why the night shift? Why the deliberate invisibility? Denise notices the gap. She visits Miles's apartment complex. A neighbor says he keeps to himself, works nights, doesn't talk much, has a lot of medical appointments lately. Medical appointments. She leaves her card at his door. That evening, another anonymous email arrives. Stop looking at the surface. Look at Kandahar. Look at April 5th, 2019. Look at who else died that day besides the 4 soldiers everyone talks about. Denise reads it 3 times. 4 soldiers everyone talks about. Who else? She searches casualty reports. Afghanistan, spring 2019. The 75th Ranger ambush. 5 soldiers killed, not 4. The 5th name, Lieutenant Nathan Crawford, Bradley Crawford's son. Denise sits back from her laptop. Crawford's own son died in the same ambush, wearing body armor manufactured by Crawford Industries, the same armor that failed, and Miles Turner, who survived that ambush, has been working inside Crawford Industries for 5 years. This isn't a story about a janitor being insulted. This is a story about a father who might have killed his own son. Meanwhile, in his apartment, Miles takes his evening pills. The bottle is running low. He'll need to refill soon. His phone buzzes. Text from Keisha. Grandpa, you missed dinner again. You okay? You sound tired when we talk. He types back. Just busy. Love you. See you Sunday. He won't tell her. Can't tell her. Not yet. The notebook sits on his kitchen table, open to a page with a list of names. Kevin Moore, Daniel Hayes, Anthony Ross, James Wright, Nathan Crawford. 5 stars. 5 names. 5 families who never got the truth. 3 months to give it to them. Denise thinks she's uncovered a scandal. She hasn't even scratched the surface, because the man at the center of this story has been waiting 5 years to reveal what really happened in Kandahar, and why a father let his own son die. Denise drives 2 hours east to Fayetteville, home to Fort Bragg and thousands of retired Special Operations soldiers. She's looking for Earl Dawkins, 62 years old, retired Sergeant Major, served in the same unit as Miles Turner. She finds him at a VFW hall on Bragg Boulevard. Gray beard, broad shoulders, American flag patch on his jacket. You're the reporter from Charlotte, he says. Sit down. We need to talk about Nathan Crawford. Over coffee, Earl tells her about Kandahar. April 5th, 2019, night patrol, ambush, RPGs from 3 directions. 5 men went down in the first 30 seconds, Earl says. The armor didn't hold. Rounds punched straight through. Plates that were supposed to stop 7.62 NATO, they cracked like ceramic tiles. Kevin Moore, Daniel Hayes, Anthony Ross, James Wright, Nathan Crawford. Earl recites the names without hesitation. Nathan was the lieutenant, Earl continues. 26 years old. West Point graduate, good officer. He wasn't supposed to be on that patrol. Volunteered because one of our guys was sick. Crawford's son volunteered for extra duty? That's who he was. Nothing like his father. Earl's voice hardens. Nathan knew something was wrong with the armor. He'd filed reports, sent emails, even called his father directly. Denise leans forward. Nathan warned his own father about the armor? 2 weeks before the ambush. I was there when he made the call. Nathan said, Dad, something's wrong with the plates. Guys are worried. You need to check the shipments. You know what Bradley Crawford said? What? Earl's jaw tightens. He said, Son, I've got shareholders to answer to. The armor passed testing. Stop worrying and do your job. 2 weeks later, Nathan was dead. Wearing armor his father knew was defective. Denise feels sick. Was anyone held accountable? Earl laughs bitterly. Investigation got buried. Inconclusive findings. Crawford's lobbyists made calls. 4 soldiers' deaths became a footnote. Nathan's death, his own son, got buried deepest of all. Crawford couldn't let anyone know that Nathan had warned him. That would make it murder, not negligence. So, Miles held Nathan while he died. Nathan's last words were for his father. He said, "Tell my dad I forgive him, but tell him to make it right." Miles tried to deliver that message at the memorial. Crawford had him thrown out. Denise remembers the photograph, the man being escorted out by security. "What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room," Earl says, "not until Miles gives the word." Denise nods. Earl slides a document across the table. 501c3 registration. Veterans Justice Coalition, founded 2012. I started VJC after I retired. Public mission. Legal aid for veterans. Real mission. Investigating defense contractors who put profit over soldiers' lives. Miles works for you. Miles volunteered. Those 5 men who died, they were his brothers. And Nathan was different. Nathan was the officer who actually listened to enlisted men, who treated everyone with respect. Earl's voice softens. Nathan deserved better than dying for his father's greed. So Miles went undercover. We spent 6 months building his cover. He shaved his beard, put on 30 pounds, got glasses, applied for a janitor position at Crawford Industries. And Crawford never recognized him? Crawford looked at Miles every day for 5 years, never saw him once. Earl leans forward. You want to know why? Because to Bradley Crawford, all black janitors look the same. We're furniture, background, invisible. Miles weaponized that, turned Crawford's racism into armor. R7. Earl slides a folder across the table. Photocopied emails, internal memos, financial records. Miles has been documenting everything, every meeting, every conversation, every document thrown in the trash. One email stands out, from Bradley Crawford to the operations team. March 15th, 2019. Push the March shipment. Skip QC steps 3 and 5. We cannot miss the deadline. 3 weeks before the ambush. R8. Another document, an internal DoD audit. 23% of Crawford Industries body armor shipments failed to meet ballistic standards, never made public. R9. A third document, lobbying expenditures. $1. $2 million to maintain relationships with Pentagon procurement officials. There's more, Earl says. Miles found something else, something Crawford buried deeper than anything. He slides a final document across the table, an email, from Nathan Crawford to Bradley Crawford, dated March 28, 2019, 8 days before the ambush. Dad, I'm begging you. The armor is failing, I've seen it. My guys have seen it. 3 plates cracked in training last week. If you ship that March batch without proper testing, someone is going to die. Please, I'm asking as your son. Nathan. Below it, Crawford's reply. Nathan, I've told you before. This isn't your area. The armor passed specs. Stop undermining the company. I'll discuss this with you when you're home. Dad. 8 days later, Nathan was dead. Wearing armor from that March batch. Denise's hands are shaking. Crawford knew, she whispers. His own son warned him, and he did nothing. He did worse than nothing, Earl says. He shipped the armor anyway, then buried his son's emails when the investigation started. Made it look like Nathan never raised concerns. How did Miles find this? Nathan's email was printed and thrown in a trash can by Bradley Crawford himself. On the anniversary of Nathan's death, Miles was emptying the trash that night. Earl pauses. There's one more thing you need to know about Miles. Denise waits. He's dying, lung cancer, metastasized. He's got maybe 3 months left. The room goes silent. 5 years undercover, 5 years mopping floors, 5 years watching the man who killed his brothers walk free. Earl's voice breaks slightly. And he spent every one of those years knowing he was dying, knowing he could have been with his granddaughter instead. He chose this. Why? Because someone had to. Because Nathan's daughter is 8 years old and doesn't know why her father really died. Because 4 families buried their sons without the truth. Because Bradley Crawford sits in a glass tower while the men who trusted him rot in the ground. Earl meets her eyes. Miles Turner is the most honorable man I've ever known, and he's spending his last months on Earth making sure the truth comes out. You understand now why I'm telling you this? Denise nods slowly. Because you're asking me to help him finish. He chose you. Out of every journalist in the Carolinas, he chose you. Denise thinks about everything she's learned, the scope of it, the patience, the sacrifice. What do you need me to do? If you thought this was a story about a janitor being insulted, you weren't paying attention. This is a story about a dying man who spent his last years seeking justice for his brothers and for the son of the man who killed them. Stay with me. Because the hardest part is still ahead. But Bradley Crawford didn't build a billion-dollar empire by surrendering. Within 48 hours, he would launch a counterattack designed to destroy everyone connected to Miles Turner, and Miles would have to make the hardest choice of his life. Friday morning, Crawford Industries' legal team sends a cease and desist letter to the Charlotte Observer. 12 pages. $10 million defamation lawsuit threatened. Immediate retraction demanded. The Observer's editorial board meets. They decide to continue, but carefully. Meanwhile, Crawford hires Victor Hayes, 52 years old, former FBI counterintelligence. His job, find the leak. Victor begins his investigation, pulls access logs, reviews security footage. Within 72 hours, he identifies an anomaly. March 15, 2019. Someone accessed the accounting server at 2:49 a.m. from the maintenance closet on the 6th floor. The only person authorized to be there, a night shift janitor. Victor narrows the list. One name keeps appearing. M. Turner. Meanwhile, Linda Garrett, the former Crawford accountant Miles spent 2 years cultivating, starts receiving threats. Tuesday night. Unknown number. You have a family. Think carefully. Wednesday. A black sedan parks outside her house. 4 hours. No one gets out. Thursday. Someone tries to pick up her daughter from school using her name. Linda calls Denise in tears. I can't do this. I have children. She withdraws. Crawford goes on Fox News. This is a coordinated attack on American business. We will not be intimidated. Crawford Industries has cooperated fully with all investigations, his spokesperson adds. These allegations are baseless. Victor Hayes schedules interviews with maintenance staff. Miles Turner is on the list. Earl calls Miles that night. Secure line. They're getting close. Hayes pulled server logs. He knows someone accessed the system from the 6th floor. Miles is silent. You need to burn the secondary cache. The photocopies in your truck. Anything that connects to the March access. Miles thinks about it. 2 years of work. Documents that could have accelerated everything. What about Phase 3? Phase 3 is secure. It's not in your vehicle. Hayes can search everything and find nothing. Miles drives to an industrial area outside Charlotte that night. Finds a burn barrel behind an abandoned mill. He burns 6 months of documentation. Watches the pages blacken. The coughing comes. Worse than before. He checks his handkerchief. More blood. 3 months. Maybe 2. The next day, Victor Hayes interviews Miles. 2 hours of questions. Where were you on March 15, 2019? Do you have access to the 6th floor? Have you ever used a computer in this building? Miles plays the role. Confused old janitor, doesn't understand technology, just mops floors. Goes home. Hayes studies him. Something doesn't fit. But there's no evidence. He writes in his report, Turner, M., interviewed. No evidence of unauthorized activity. Recommend? No further action. Miles walks out. That same day, Keisha Turner receives an email from UNC Charlotte. Her diversity scholarship is under routine administrative review. The timing is not coincidental. Miles reads the email on his phone. His hands shake. Not from the cancer, from rage. They're going after his granddaughter now. He calls Earl. They're targeting Keisha. I know. Crawford's people are thorough. She's not part of this. She doesn't know anything. They don't care. Miles is quiet for a long moment. Then I tell her. Everything. Tonight. Miles. She's going to find out eventually. Better from me than from a reporter or a subpoena. His voice cracks. And she needs to know about the cancer before she finds out another way. Earl doesn't respond. I should have told her months ago. I kept putting it off, telling myself there'd be time later. Miles laughs bitterly. There is no later, Earl. Not for me. You sure about this? Miles looks at the Crawford Industries tower in the distance. I'm sure. Sunday. I tell her everything. That Sunday, Miles takes Keisha to a place he rarely visits anymore, a cemetery where her mother is buried. He's about to tell her the truth about his mission, about the cancer, about the months he's spent away from her, chasing justice instead of spending his remaining time with his family, and he has no idea if she'll forgive him. The cemetery is silent at 7 a.m. Miles parks his truck near the eastern fence. Keisha sits in the passenger seat, confused. He hasn't explained why they're here. They walk together to Rachel's grave. The granite marker, the inscription, "She carried light wherever she went." Miles sits on the grass. Keisha joins him. Grandpa, what's going on? You've been acting strange for weeks. Miles doesn't answer immediately. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a prescription bottle, holds it out to her. Keisha takes it, reads the label. Her face pales. This is for cancer patients. Stage 4. Lungs, liver, bones. Miles's voice is steady, practiced. He's rehearsed this moment 100 times. They gave me 6 months back in May. I've got about 2 left now. Maybe 3 if I'm lucky. Keisha stares at him. The bottle shakes in her hand. No, that's not... You would have told me. You would have... I should have. I'm sorry. 2 months? Her voice breaks. You're telling me you have 2 months to live and you've been working as a janitor? You've been spending your last... She stops. Processes. That's why. The job. Crawford Industries. It was never about the money, was it? Miles shakes his head. Then what? What could possibly be worth... 5 men died in Afghanistan 5 years ago. 4 of them were my brothers. The 5th was Nathan Crawford, Bradley Crawford's son. Keisha stares at him. Miles tells her everything. The defective armor, Crawford's order to ship anyway, Nathan's warning to his father, the cover-up, VJC, the 5 years undercover, the notebooks, the recordings, the evidence. Nathan Crawford called his father 2 weeks before the ambush, told him the armor was failing. Crawford told him to stop worrying and do his job. Miles's voice hardens. 8 days before Nathan died, he sent an email begging his father to stop the shipment. Crawford ignored it. Then he buried the evidence after Nathan was killed. Oh my God. I held Nathan while he died. His last words were for his father. He said, "Tell my dad I forgive him, but tell him to make it right." I tried to deliver that message at the memorial. Crawford had me thrown out. Tears streamed down Keisha's face. So I came back. Different face, different body. Became invisible. Spent 5 years watching him, documenting everything, waiting for the right moment. Miles pauses. I knew I was dying the whole time. I could have spent those years with you, watching you grow up, being present. Instead, I chose this. Why? Because no one else would. Because James Wright's daughter was 6 years old when he died. She's 11 now. Because Kevin Moore's mother still doesn't know why her son really died. Because Nathan Crawford's daughter is 8 and thinks her father was killed by enemies, not by her own grandfather's greed. Miles looks at Rachel's headstone. Your mother used to say I carried weight no one else could see. She was right. But I made a choice, Keisha. I chose justice for the dead over time with the living. I chose my brothers over you. He finally looks at her. And I don't know if that was the right choice. I don't know if you can forgive me. But I need you to understand. I did it because someone had to. Because if I didn't, Crawford would walk free forever, and those 5 men would be forgotten. Keisha is silent for a long moment, tears still falling. Then she moves closer, puts her head on his shoulder, like she used to when she was small. You're an idiot, she whispers. A stubborn, noble, self-sacrificing idiot. Miles almost smiles. Mom was right about something else too, Keisha continues. She said you'd never stop trying to do right, even when it cost you everything. She takes his hand. You've got 2 months left. Let me help you finish this. Miles looks at her. You don't have to. I know, but I want to. You've been fighting alone for 5 years. You don't have to anymore. For the first time in months, Miles feels something he'd forgotten. Hope. 2 months left to live. 5 years of sacrifice. 1 granddaughter who finally knows the truth. Miles Turner has given everything for this mission. His health, his time, his chance to be with the people he loves. But he's not done yet. And now, for the first time, he's not alone. The next morning, Earl Dawkins appears on national television. And for the first time, he tells the American public about the body armor that killed their soldiers, including the son of the man who sold it to them. Monday morning, CNN studio. Earl Dawkins sits across from a veteran anchor. Gray suit. American flag pin. 5 soldiers died in Kandahar in April 2019, Earl says. They were wearing body armor supplied by Crawford Industries. That armor failed. The anchor leans forward. You're alleging the armor was defective? I'm stating what I witnessed. I was there. I held one of those men while he bled out through his vest. Earl pauses. One of those soldiers was Lieutenant Nathan Crawford, Bradley Crawford's only son. The anchor's eyes widen. The CEO's son died wearing his own company's defective armor? Yes. And there's evidence that Nathan warned his father about the armor before the ambush. That warning was ignored. The interview goes viral within hours. The story transforms again. This is no longer just about a janitor or defective armor. This is about a father who let his own son die for profit. Letters pour into the Charlotte Observer. Hundreds of them. Veterans, military families, people demanding answers. Senator Patricia Moore of North Carolina announces that the Senate Armed Services Committee will conduct a formal inquiry. That evening, Linda Garrett calls Denise. I'm back in, she says. I can't stay silent anymore. Not after what I just heard. R13, R14. Linda delivers a USB drive, accounting records, internal audits, and 1 audio file. It's from March 2019, Linda explains. A board meeting. Someone left a recording device in the maintenance closet next to the boardroom. Denise asks, What's on it? Crawford's voice, giving a direct order to ship the armor. And something else. Linda's voice shakes. Someone mentions Nathan's concerns. Crawford says... She stops. What does he say? He says, my son doesn't run this company, I do. Ship the armor. Denise takes the drive. She knows where that recorder came from. Miles Turner didn't just collect documents. He captured everything. Meanwhile, Miles sits in his apartment. The coughing is worse, the blood more frequent. Keisha sits across from him. She's been staying with him since Sunday. "The audio file is going to change everything," she says. "Once people hear Crawford dismissing his own son's warnings..." Miles nods. "It's almost over." "And then what?" He doesn't answer. They both know what "then" means. Keisha takes his hand. "Promise me something." "What?" "When this is over, when Crawford faces justice, you spend whatever time you have left doing something for yourself. Not for the mission, not for VJC, for you." Miles looks at his granddaughter, so much like her mother. "I promise." His phone buzzes. Earl. "Senate subpoenas are going out tomorrow. Crawford, the board, Victor Hayes." A pause. "And you. They want you to testify." Miles closes his eyes. "How long do I have?" 10 days. 10 days. He can make it 10 days. "I'll be there." The audio file is 4 minutes and 23 seconds long, and in it, Bradley Crawford says 12 words that will destroy his legacy forever. "My son doesn't run this company. I do. Ship the armor." Denise calls Miles that evening. "I need to see you. Tonight." They meet in an empty parking lot. Miles' truck. Engine off. Keisha in the back seat. She refused to let him go alone. Denise climbs into the passenger seat. The audio file plays on her phone. Crawford's voice, unmistakable. "The March shipment is behind schedule. We're going to miss the DOD deadline." Another voice. "Sir, the QC results aren't finalized. Some plates haven't completed testing, and Lieutenant Crawford raised concerns about..." Crawford cutting him off. "My son doesn't run this company. I do. Ship the armor. We'll handle paperwork later." Silence. Then another voice. "Sir, are you sure? Given Nathan's report..." "I said ship it. My son is a soldier, not an engineer. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Ship the armor." The recording ends. Keisha breaks the silence. "He dismissed his own son, called his concerns worthless, 3 weeks before Nathan died wearing that armor." Miles is quiet. Denise looks at him. "You made this recording." The maintenance closet shares a wall with the boardroom. Thin, dry wall. I could hear everything. Miles reaches behind his seat, pulls out a cardboard box. 5 years of documentation. R15, R16. Inside, 3 black notebooks. 863 pages total. Book 1, 418 pages. Defense contracts. Body armor specifications. QC bypass orders. Book 2, 393 pages. Employment discrimination. Termination patterns. HR directives. Book 3, 52 pages. Bradley Crawford. Personal observations. Including every time he visited Nathan's portrait in the building. Every time he sat in his office at 2 a.m. staring at nothing. Every time he drank alone after board meetings that mentioned the Kandahar incident. Denise flips through the pages. "This is... comprehensive doesn't even begin to describe it. Crawford has lawyers who've buried better cases, lobbyists who've made investigations disappear. I needed so much evidence that no one could look away." Keisha leans forward. "Show her the other email." Miles hesitates, then pulls out a final document. Nathan Crawford's last email to his father, March 28, 2019. "Dad, I'm begging you. The armor is failing. 3 plates cracked in training last week. If you ship that batch without proper testing, someone is going to die. Please, I'm asking as your son. Nathan." Crawford's reply. "Nathan, stop undermining the company. The armor passed specs. Do your job." Dad. 8 days later, Nathan Crawford died wearing armor from that batch. The last thing he said was that he forgave his father. His father never knew. Miles looks at Denise. Crawford buried this email, deleted it from the servers. He thought it was gone forever. A pause. But he printed it once, on the anniversary of Nathan's death, then threw it in his office trash can at 11 p.m. Miles's voice is flat. I was emptying that trash at 11:15. Denise stares at him. You've had this for 4 years? I've been building a case that can't be dismissed, can't be buried, can't be spun. Miles coughs, checks his handkerchief. Blood. I'm running out of time, but the case is ready. Keisha puts her hand on his shoulder. What do you want to happen now? Denise asks. I want him to answer. In public. On camera. I want Nathan Crawford's daughter to know her father tried to save lives, and his own father ignored him. I want Bradley Crawford to sit in front of Congress and explain why he dismissed his son's warnings, why he shipped the armor, why 5 men died. He meets her eyes. Can you make that happen? Denise nods slowly. I can. 10 days later, Bradley Crawford sits before the Senate Armed Services Committee. And Miles Turner, with 6 weeks left to live, walks into the hearing room to deliver the message Nathan Crawford asked him to carry 5 years ago. The hearing room is wood-paneled and solemn. Senate Armed Services Committee, C-SPAN cameras, press gallery overflowing. Bradley Crawford sits at the witness table, gray suit, no tie. His lawyer beside him. His face is composed, but his hands grip the table edge. Behind him, in the gallery, sits a woman in her 30s holding the hand of an 8-year-old girl. Nathan Crawford's widow, Nathan Crawford's daughter, Senator Patricia Moore presides. Mr. Crawford, the committee has obtained audio recordings in which you are heard dismissing your son's safety concerns and ordering the shipment of untested body armor. 3 weeks later, your son, along with 4 other soldiers, was killed in Afghanistan. Their armor failed. She holds up a transcript. You said, and I quote, "My son doesn't run this company. I do. Ship the armor." Do you recall making that statement? Crawford's lawyer whispers. Crawford speaks. On advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Moore nods. The committee notes your invocation. She asks about Nathan's emails, about the DOD audit, about the cover-up. Crawford invokes the fifth 23 times. Crawford Industries has consistently maintained that all products met required specifications. His attorney reads from a statement. My client reserves all legal rights and looks forward to presenting a defense in the appropriate forum. Then Senator Moore calls the next witness. The committee calls Miles Turner. A murmur runs through the gallery. Miles stands from the back row. He's wearing his old janitor uniform, blue shirt, faded name tag, no medals. He walks slowly. The cancer has taken its toll. He's thinner now, paler, but his eyes are sharp. He sits, adjusts the microphone, coughs once into his handkerchief. Before he speaks, he rolls up his sleeve. Slowly. The tattoo faces the cameras. 75th Ranger Regiment. 5 stars. Kandahar. 040519. Crawford stares. His face drains of color. Again. Miles begins. Kevin Moore, Daniel Hayes, Anthony Ross, James Wright. He pauses. Nathan Crawford. A gasp ripples through the gallery. The 8-year-old girl looks up at her mother, confused. 5 men died on April 5th, 2019. They were my brothers. They trusted that the equipment their country gave them would protect them. They trusted that someone had checked it. His voice doesn't waver. On April 5th, 2019, that trust was betrayed. Their armor failed. 5 of them died. I held Nathan Crawford while he bled out. Miles looks at Crawford. Nathan's last words were for you, Mr. Crawford. He said, "Tell my dad I forgive him, but tell him to make it right." Crawford's face crumbles. His mask of composure cracks. I tried to deliver that message at Nathan's memorial. You had me thrown out. So I came back. Different face, different name. Invisible. Miles pauses. I've worked at Crawford Industries for 5 years. Night shift, janitor. You walked past me hundreds of times. You never recognized me. He leans forward. You asked me once, at that all-hands meeting, if I knew who I was. You called me replaceable. Miles's voice strengthens. I know exactly who I am. I'm Sergeant First Class Miles Turner, 75th Ranger Regiment, Silver Star recipient. And for 5 years I listened to every word you said. Every meeting, every phone call, every time you sat in your office at 2 a.m. staring at your son's photograph. Crawford's eyes are wet. For the first time in his public life, tears fall. Your son knew the armor was defective. He begged you to stop the shipment. You dismissed him, called him a soldier, not an engineer, said he didn't know what he was talking about. Miles pulls out a folded paper. Nathan's last email to you, March 28th, 2019. Dad, I'm begging you. If you ship that batch, someone is going to die. You replied, stop undermining the company. He holds it up. 8 days later, Nathan died. Wearing armor you shipped against his warnings. Crawford breaks, sobs openly. His lawyer tries to steady him. Miles looks at the gallery, at Nathan's daughter. Nathan Crawford was a good man, a good officer. He tried to save lives. His own father stopped him. He turns back to Crawford. Nathan forgave you. I don't. Silence fills the chamber. 2 weeks later, Bradley Crawford is indicted on federal charges, and Miles Turner, with 4 weeks left to live, finally rests. The resignation statement runs 6 sentences. Personal reasons. Proud of what we've built. It doesn't mention the federal indictment. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Criminally negligent homicide. Evidence tampering. Bradley Crawford faces up to 25 years in federal prison. R18. Crawford Industries' stock has fallen 53%. 4 board members have resigned. The company has lost 6 defense contracts. 3 weeks after the hearing, Miles Turner is admitted to hospice. Keisha sits beside his bed. She hasn't left in days. You did it, she whispers. You finished. Miles nods slowly. Speaking is harder now. Nathan's daughter, he manages. Did she get the letter? She did. Nathan's widow brought her to the hearing. She understands now. Her father tried to save lives. He was a hero, not Crawford. Miles closes his eyes, relief. One more thing. He gestures to the table beside his bed. A folder. VJC application. For you. Earl already approved it. Keisha opens the folder. Her name is already printed on the membership form. Grandpa? Someone has to continue. Not revenge. Justice. He coughs. You have the skills, the drive. You're smarter than I ever was. Tears fall down her face. I'm not ready. No one ever is. He takes her hand. But you will be. 3 days later, Miles Turner dies. The funeral is held at Fort Bragg. Full military honors. The flag, the rifle salute, taps echoing across the cemetery. Earl Dawkins delivers the eulogy. Miles Turner spent 5 years as a janitor, not because he had no other options, but because he chose justice over comfort. He chose his brothers over himself. He chose truth over time. The casket is lowered. Keisha stands at the grave, alone now. She opens the folder. The VJC application. Her grandfather's handwriting in the margin. The people who mop floors and empty trash and work night shifts, they see everything. They always have. Make sure the world knows that. She signs her name. 6 months later. Keisha Turner testifies before a congressional oversight committee. New evidence of defense contractor fraud. 3 more companies under investigation. A reporter asks her afterward, "You're 22 years old. Why are you doing this?" Keisha smiles. "My grandfather spent his last 5 years mopping floors so that 5 families could have the truth. He was dying the whole time. He never complained, never stopped." She looks at the Crawford Industries tower in the distance, now half empty, for sale. "He taught me that some people are never replaceable. The ones who do the work no one sees. The ones who carry weight no one knows about. The ones who choose justice over comfort." She turns back to the reporter. "My grandfather was one of those people. And so am I." If this story made you think about someone you've overlooked, someone invisible who might see more than you realize, leave a comment. If you believe that patience and truth can outlast power and money, subscribe. Because the people who mop the floors, empty the trash, work the night shifts, they're watching. They always have been. And sometimes they're willing to give everything, even their last breath, to make things right.